The world inside. This rewinds a lifetime, the many threads we tread, and in time we decide ones to web and others to wed. The art is of many, and only a narrow few remain to teach the lessons. To perceive is at once. How can it be with the eyes that by a whisker see? From the cradle to the fable, stuck in the middle, between ourself within the divine, the entrance is a trail traveling the mind. Belief carries us on the fabric of imagination, the unborn, the fate of time. Hold tight the truth you seek. The world is farther than we see, larger than we think. The passion inside must be delivered, far and wide.
This comes to you from the Journal of Minister Matthyw Forbes, the adventures of a struggling artist mixed into the world of mysticism and dark arts. Aside from battling my inner demons, I find myself matching wits with demonic and angelic forces. What can I say? You don't choose the mystic arts, it chooses you. So if you see me in the cemetery, just know I'm trying to save a soul, and next time it might be you. Open the gates of your mind, the damned saint has arrived.
My name is Matt Forbes. For a few months now, I've been through more than most go through in a lifetime. I was once an ordinary guy who was interested in exploring his spirituality further, and then one day I was thrust into the world of esoteric knowledge, and you'd think that kind of thing is very laid back, but I'm the one who plays with danger when I roll the dice. It sounds romantic, but in this oftentimes screwed up world, I'm the only option for saving your butt when all else fails. Recently, I took what started as an enjoyable train ride, and I ended up finding a treasure map that would take me into South America, searching for lost treasure, and the stories I could tell about my time down there, well, I'll have to save them for another episode. It might even require an After Dark subscription, if you know what I mean. But anyways, I finally returned home to my city, where my tiny apartment above the game store, still getting used to that, was just as I left it, a total mess. I cleaned myself up, changed my clothes, hid my case that contained the treasure. I was gonna wait for later tonight to find out just what it was, but for now I needed a drink, so I headed downstairs and across the way to the comedy club to see Jordan, who had returned from the train trip without me, but was anxious to hear my story, I'm sure. Unfortunately, when I went down there, I found out it was Jordan's night off from running the club, and usually on those nights, you can't find him, or you're better off not disturbing him. Between the drugs and women, you'd think it was an Olympic sport. So I had a drink by myself, listening to the sloppy, slow, and ragged blues band honk out some tunes off in the distance. With no one to talk to, I figured maybe I should go back up to my apartment and peek into this treasure. After all the fuss and hassle, the suspense wasn't killing me. But before I could make my way up the stairs, Lucy, the manager for the club and my ministry services, stopped me. Now Matt, I know you've had a long trip, but you're just in time for the wedding, but it's still short notice. You can still do Friday afternoon, right? She looked at me with deep concern. I was somewhat disheveled looking still. Yeah, I don't see why not. Wait, now how many days away is that? I'm sort of out of sync with time after my trip. I haven't even looked at a clock yet. That's tomorrow, Matt. Friday is tomorrow. She was now looking a little confused. Okay, it doesn't feel like a Thursday though. Today, that is. Sure it's not Tuesday or Wednesday? It feels more like one of those days. No, I'm sure. Today's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. We will have the rental car ready for you by 11 a.m., okay? And get some rest. You don't look too hot. Why, Lucy, I never knew you felt that way about me. Alright, kid, I'll be ready. That is, unless some kind of powerful unseen force of cosmic proportions sweeps me away or someone murders me, I should be good. She now looked more angry than confused, patted my arm with her soft hand and walked away, shaking her head. I sauntered back up to my apartment and carefully began to take out the treasure box. I walked back to my door to be sure it was locked. did a perimeter sweep of the windows, and the coast was clear. Now inside the box, a 5x5 square box, there was some old wood chip like packing fluff kind of stuff, and as I dig through that, and buried under about a layer was something I could feel was solid like glass or crystal. And pulling it out and holding it up to the light, I was amazed by how ordinary it looked. It was a crystal globe. That's what all this fuss was over? A lousy bauble for home decoration? So I sat with it for a bit, moved it around in my hands. Maybe I had some kind of mechanism to get it working if it was some kind of hidden feature. I mean, it worked in the Fifth Element, right? I went through the books I had, but there wasn't anything useful on it that I could find. It was too late to hit the library and find any esoteric books. If this thing is what old Fugit said, then it's a lore that won't be found in ordinary spell books. So out of last resort, I went down to talk with my cousin Dan. He was organizing the few comics left in the shop and cleaning the card gaming tables when I walked in from the back. "Oh, hey Matt. Glad to see you're back. What's up?" "Well, Dan, I came back with the crystal ball and I'm trying to figure out how to unlock its mysteries. I didn't know who else to just talk to about it. Maybe you can help me dig up some clues?" "Yeah, of course. I'm not sure I can help though. All I know is video games and comics when it comes to mysterious crystal balls though." "Yeah, it's alright. Do you have any idea who might be able to help me when it comes to esoteric writing or lore of mysterious crystal globes, to be exact?" "Well, there's a regular who comes in and plays Pokemon and was talking about something like that recently. Said he works at a bookshop and was recently asked a similar question. No idea who was asking him though." "Alright. Thanks, Dan. That's a pretty good lead. I'll see what I can dig up on it. Thanks, cuz." I found the bookshop where the young guy worked. When I arrived, he seemed unnerved. Dan had given him a call ahead of time, so he was expecting me. I asked what book he wanted. It turns out it's an old book that contains long-forgotten myths that were seen as nothing more than that. They only had one copy and he sold it to a tall man with blonde, spiky hair. Great, sounds like a vampire or some shit. But after some convincing, I was able to get the man's address. Luckily, it wasn't too far away, only a few blocks. When I arrived at the address, it turns out the guy used the address of a cheap coffee shop. A dead-end lead, maybe. But if he used the address, maybe he frequents here and I could try to spot him. I mean, like, how many guys fit that description? So I sat with a hot brew for a few, and wouldn't you know it, and in walks a tall, spiky, blonde-haired, vampire-looking dude. I guess all my good karma is finally paying off. As he ventures back out to the street after his order, I take my hot coffee to go and follow him. He walked back a few blocks, then turned down an alley. I didn't want to get jumped, so I proceeded carefully. Stepping out from arm's reach, I peek around the corner and see him slipping into a doorway that looks obscure. This is probably over my pay grade. Well, actually, there isn't even a pay grade for this shit. I walk closer, but before I can get to the doorway, he steps back out. He looks caught off guard. "Who the hell are you?" "Just passing through for some reason. I was like having an inkling you're into like esoteric writing maybe. Now I know someone who has a sort of crystal globe. They were trying to find some information on it. Do you think you could help me?" "I don't know what you're talking about. Buzz off, guy. Besides, it's not forces you want to be tampering with, you get me?" Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to be persistent, friend." "I'm not your friend, you freak." "Well, you could be, but you won't be making any friends with that attitude." He suddenly lunged for me, and I was able to grab his long, scrawny arm and jam it behind his back. He was surprisingly quick to fall and wail in pain. I was a little disappointed he didn't put up a fight, but like any cocky fool, right as I was lit up on power, the lights went out. Well, I woke up in a room tied to a chair. It was a bad tie, so I started to loosen it. And in walked a man who wanted to ask about why I was being nosy about the book. After a few smart replies, he gave me a few smart punches into the gut. Well, I guess he didn't want to make the brain too fuzzy, you know? I'm telling you, I was asked by a friend to find a book about some crystal. He has it. He's the one you want. I found out the book was bought by your blonde buddy and wanted to ask him about it. What is that, a crime? Who has the crystal? Said the tall, dark man whose face was obscured by the shadows. Well, I'm not digging the lights in here, buddy, and I think it's time for me to go. I busted out of the ropes and bum rushed. Now, I never really found out where that term came from or what it means, but I'm using it here. And bum rushed the guy. He fell over and hit his head against the wall. Before he could get back up, I was able to run out the door, down a hallway and out another door that led back outside. The blonde dude was standing there looking dumbfounded at me. What the fuck are you I didn't want him to finish, so I kicked his feet out from under him, his back falling into the dumpster, and he screamed out in pain. And this, kids, is why when you take risky walks, following vampire-looking fools, you never bring your identification, so in case you're a dumbass like me and get captured, they have no way to ID you. And of course, you need to make a quick getaway, or you're done for. I ran back towards home. I ran through a ton of crazy ways, going through buildings and out back doors to make sure I wasn't followed. I climbed up my fire escape to be sure I didn't use the front door. Getting back to the crystal globe, I didn't care what any book said. I had to crack the code on this right away. With the ball in my hands, I eventually fell asleep, and without warning, the globe began to glow and pulsate, and I felt it shifting. Suddenly, the globe expanded, and I could see 5 crisscross rings. It was as if I was standing inside the globe itself. Like the light of the globe had expanded out and around me. It was like being in a portal, but it was like a bubble. And I was peeking into another dimension or realm. But there were 5 different ones, all circulating, like you see on a biblically accurate angel. Except there was no eyes. It was just these 5 concentric rings circling around each other. I began to feel weak and blacked out. The next thing I know, I felt a cold washcloth and opened my eyes to see Ezekiel standing above me. Matt, you okay? You didn't get card this morning for wedding. I came up to check on you. I'm not sure what happened. I must have blacked out somehow. Wait. Feeling around for the globe, I suddenly became concerned. Where is it? The globe. Did you see me holding anything? This? Ezekiel holds up the globe. It's now a crystal green color and slowly changing to blue and purple. What happened? Did I unlock it or something? We hear a knock on the door, but before I can respond, the door is busted down. And in walks the tall blonde dude and the tall dark guy who attacked me in the shadows. I tried to stand up to fight, but I'm weak and slump back down. The 2 men part, and a short, dark-haired man with a mustache appears between them. I'll take that, thank you. Just what possible use could you have for the orb of Vordoom? Vordoom, huh? They couldn't have picked a cheesier name for it, could they? Well, I happen to like it. You see, I'm a collector, and I think it will go well with my drapes. Looking around, he looks back at me. I don't see any drapes in here, buddy. Well, you're cute. You talk very cute. Fortunately, we have a cure for that. He snaps his fingers and the goons come closer. So I throw a chair at them, and I'm able to stave them off to get Ezekiel to the back door with the globe and tell him to take it to the void, which means we have a vault that is not in this dimension and untraceable to anyone else in this realm. So I can only hope that Ezekiel gets away safely. So I turned to face the thugs, and again, the lights went out.
Tune in for next week's episode of The Damned Saint. Until then, be true, be you, and be aware. There is no fate but what you create. I am the messenger, the Damned Saint.